let's move on to the New York Jets in our 2023 NFL Draft review. But before we get into that, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button and also ring that bell to get notified when we release new New York Jets content or AFC East content or just general NFL content about the teams or the season that's going on. Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 2,000 subscribers by the start of the season. So any help will be greatly appreciated, and it's the easiest way to help out our channel. So Ryan, with that being said, let's move on to the Jets draft, and
let's do it.
Let's talk about obviously the biggest draft pickup that they had this draft season, and that's the addition of Aaron Rodgers. So I'm looking forward to his time in New York. This team was really good last year. They just had no quarterbacks whatsoever. Their offensive line did struggle a lot, and we'll get to that here in a second because I like that they addressed it, and I like some of the picks that they got. I think that was good value. And so, but in general, though, what are your expectations for Rodgers in New York?
I mean, I think they're a playoff team. I think they already were somewhat going to be competing for the division, and I think this just solidifies them as a division contender. I think he makes this the best division in football, easily, in my opinion. The AFC or the NFC East, I think, are the two best. But and then
I'll throw in an outlier there as well. I think the AFC North also could potentially be in there as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the AFC West, but the AFC West is ruled by Kansas City.
We're the AFC West also,
but they're definitely a playoff contender now. The New York Jets are, and they are a serious threat to go to the AFC Championship game, and at that point, you're a Super Bowl contender. So, I like some of the moves that they did. I didn't like some of the moves that they did in the draft, but let's get into it. Starting off, the first move that I don't necessarily like is Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State. I think he was a little high. And then you also look at some of the edge rushers that were on the board. Nolan Smith specifically, I think, is the better version of Will McDonald. He has the better locker room presence, in my opinion, and just is the more refined player, as well as the better run defender as well, and can actually be a 3-down edge most of the time.
Yeah. I understand the qualms. I think he's a good player, and I can understand the argument for. I can understand the argument for Nolan Smith. This to me is where I guess it depends on what you would classify as a read. I think if you're confident that this player will not be there for your next pick, and you really like the player, and then you look at everyone else that's on the board, and you just don't like them, I don't consider that a reach. I can understand how maybe it feels early for Will McDonald. But to me, the only other maybe legitimate person I think they could have gone with, I mean, they maybe could have taken Jack Campbell. But to me, the other potential pick here that I think would have made sense at around this time would have been Kalijah Kancey. I've mocked him to the Jets a lot. I think he would have been a good fit to kind of replace Sheldon Rankins. Not like this defensive line needs it, or this defense needs any help, so to say. But I do think he adds good depth. I think he has a lot of potential. We saw that with the Senior Bowl, just with his freakishly athletic ability. So I get if people have qualms about it, I get it. And so I just think, to me, he wasn't going to be there by 43. And I also look at who else was available there. And if they don't like Kancey, they didn't want to take Campbell, then I can understand them maybe being like, well, we like Will McDonald, but we know at minimum he's getting taken like 35, 36, which is well before ours. But we don't want to trade up our draft picks because we don't have that many. So I get it. I get why you would go with Will McDonald here. He fits your system well, which I think he does. I think he has an opportunity to thrive in New York because of how good that defensive line is.
Yeah, I just think you look at Will McDonald and then you look at Nolan Smith, and I just, in my opinion, Nolan Smith was the clear better player. And nothing against Will McDonald. I had him as an early second, late first guy. And so I don't think, especially in the middle of the first in a really weak class, I think I'm not going to discredit them too much because I think this is a bit of a reach on him, but I'm not going to say that this is like an egregious reach or anything like that. I just think that there was a better player on the board for the position that they wanted. They, to me, went with a lesser player who was supposed to be drafted a little later on my board. And like I would give that grade like a B-. That pick specifically. So I don't absolutely hate it. I think he does fit in really well. You have Quinton Williams in the inside and him on the outside, and that's a lot of speed and power to deal with. So I like both of those. And then next couple picks addressing the offensive line, which they were not able to do in the first round. Joe Tippmann, the center from Wisconsin, and then going all the way to round 4, about 80 picks later, to Carter Warren, the offensive tackle from Pittsburgh. I like it. Joe Tippmann was the first center taken off the board. I had John Michael Schmitz there, but that was definitely up for debate on the consensus board. And then Carter Warren has the physical tools and the athleticism to play on the outside. He's has been dealing with injuries, mostly from last season, where he only played 2 games and then missed the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, the Jets, it's I feel like over these next couple seasons, because they have a lot of long-term pieces already established, like on the defensive side, and some skill position players as well on the offensive side. So I feel like we're gonna see with the Jets, they're just gonna throw a bunch of darts at the offensive line board and just hopefully that they can like piece together a good core group over these next several years. And I agree. I think that there's some good value there. I do like their next pick, solidifying their running back room with Israel Abanikanda. Did I do it right?
Yeah. It's close enough.
Close enough. All right. This is your first time here. You'll get to know real quick that I struggle to pronounce names, so I apologize. But I do like him. I think he's a good compliment to Breece Hall. And with Breece Hall coming back from his knee injury, you don't know how he's going to react. So, and I think he can fit into that system well. So then the rest of their picks, their day 3 picks, round 6 and then round 7, I just think good value. Particularly their last one, Zach Kuntz, tight end out of Old Dominion. I think it's good value. He's got a lot of potential upside, and he could potentially contribute pretty soon because I mean their tight end room right now, CJ Uzoma, Tyler Conklin. So there's opportunities there if he'd want to be buddy with Rodgers.
Yeah, and he's very athletic, very high upside. He's very raw. He's going to require a lot of work. But if you can get the ball in his hands, I think he could be a freight train and really hard to tackle. So let's go ahead and get into our overall grade for the New York Jets draft here. So you gave them a B+, I gave them a B. Pretty similar. For me, a B was right on average. You're getting 2 to 3 immediate starters or contributors. And I like what they did. I think they got Rodgers. They moved back. And because of the move back, they weren't able to draft Broderick Jones, who was taken by the Steelers at 14. And then, but they still got a good player in Will McDonald, while I think they could have gotten a better one. So maybe that value there is what's kind of bringing me back down towards average. And then Zach Kuntz, I think, is really good value in the 7th round. And then they still were able to solidify their offensive line with some of those picks in the middle.
Yeah. So I that's fair. I gave them the plus because then they solidified the most important position, and that was quarterback. So it traded for Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it was a fair trade. And with all the other moves that they made as well, they got rid of Elijah Moore, which got them that extra second, so then they could throw that second in there as well. So then they didn't really get lost too much. Moore didn't want to be there. They didn't really need him with having Garrett Wilson as well. Then they signed Alan Lazard, and then they got some other pieces also. And so, and then they're probably going to be giving up a first, but if you make a deep run into the playoffs, it'll be worth it because that's the whole goal. And then you'd be picking in the mid to late 20s anyways at the earliest. And we have seen plenty of guys drafted 27th overall that don't make it in the NFL, so that wouldn't be too big of a loss. And then I look at their draft in general, and they pick solid players. Like those first 4 players are solid. I think good value. They're all going to be able to help contribute day one. So I can understand some qualms, but for me, that tied with the Rodgers trade, I think it was fair, and they were able to have some maneuverability to really, honestly, they're only losing a first next year. I mean, they lost some other picks, yes. I can't remember the top of it all. I can remember it all off the top of my head.
I want to say they swapped. They gave them pick 40. Then they got like a 5th round. And then they gave them or first next year.
And I think there's maybe I don't know why I feel like there's a 6th rounder in there somewhere. But I could be wrong. But like something minuscule like that. So in general, I thought it was a fair draft.
Yeah, no, I thought it was solid. I think that hit the nail on the head with improving a lot of the positions of need. And I wouldn't say that they knocked it out of the park, but they did solid.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I think looking into 2023, I mean, I really like their chances to compete with the Bills for this division. I think they've solidified themselves as the second best team. They definitely have the best defense in that division, and I like their chances in 2023. To be honest, it could be a little bit of a Russell Wilson syndrome, kind of what we saw last year with a lot of people who supported the Broncos. But I think Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers getting back together is going to be a little bit more successful than Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
when Nathaniel Hackett has connected with veteran quarterbacks, it has gone very well. So
yeah,
I'm just kidding. That was a low blow.
Yeah. But I think that's going to wrap up the Jets draft recap there. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of the Jets draft and let us know what you think of our analysis. Do you think we're right? Do you think we're wrong? Let us know why. And while you're down there, go ahead and like and subscribe and smash that bell to get notified when Tyler and I create new content. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.